Hi, I'm Tom Wishon, and again, thanks for your interest in golf club design technology and club fitting technology. I did a video not too long ago where we were talking about what's changed in driver head design over the last 5 years, 10 years. If you look for a new driver today, should you be looking at the driver head to know whether or not its technology is any better than maybe if you have a 5-year-old club or a 10-year-old driver, okay? Well, in this segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about iron design. How much have iron designs changed over the last 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years, you know? And iron design is really an interesting concept for club head design, especially when you compare it to driver heads, okay? You know, in irons, it's been some time ago that we developed the concept that we talk about some iron designs as being game improvement designs, some being now super game improvement designs, other iron designs being more traditional type of designs. We don't do that in driver head. There really isn't such a thing in a driver head design as a game improvement driver design or a super game improvement driver design or a less forgiving, driver head design. The reason is because almost all drivers now are 450 to 460 cubic centimeters, and size of the driver head definitely increases the moment of inertia, which improves the off-center hit. You also have the situation where all drivers today are made so that the attempt is to make the coefficient of restitution, the COR of the face, as high as possible to offer the highest ball speed, the highest smash factor for most distance. So there really is no such thing in driver head design as game improvement, super game improvement, traditional type of design. That exists in irons, okay? And when we started out, for years and years and years in this industry, irons were only designed in one way, very similar to what we call, a muscle-back style of iron. We're basically a blade type iron. Big chunk of metal, no cavity per se on the back. But then it was somewhere around in the late 1960s, thanks to Karsten Solheim, bless his heart, who introduced the world to moment of inertia as it relates to iron design. And Karsten was really the first one to take a blank forging and cut a cavity into the back of the head so that he could distribute a higher percentage of the weight around the perimeter of the head to increase its moment of inertia. And in doing that, to make the head twist a little bit less when you hit the ball off center, from it to gain a little bit less distance loss from the off-center hit, or to coin the term, more forgiveness. When Karsten gave us the cavity back iron, he basically invented the concept of game improvement iron design. From that point, it's been, moving onward through iron design to keep increasing the game improvement characteristics of irons, okay? The biggest chief way to do that was simply to continue to increase either the size of the head to make it a little bit larger, or to increase the depth of the cavity so that a greater percentage of the head's mass could be distributed around its perimeter and thus increase the moment of inertia so off-center hits didn't twist the head as much and you didn't lose as much distance from the off-center hit. So an easy way to identify a game improvement iron is the larger the head, the deeper the cavity, the more game improvement characteristics that head will have. Another feature that came along in iron design over the years to couple with the cavity depth was the width of the sole of the iron. The wider the sole of an iron, the more mass you have down on the bottom of the club. The more mass you put down on the bottom of the golf club, the lower the center of gravity will be in the head, and the lower the center of gravity, it's going to make it just a little bit easier to hit a little bit higher shot. Okay, now unfortunately, low center of gravity versus high center of gravity, there's not a whole lot of difference out there among iron heads today. So for a lot of people who think, well, I'm going to recommend a very low center of gravity club to this very less skilled or unskilled player because it's going to help them get the ball up more, a little bit but not a whole lot, okay? And the reason is because among all the irons that are out there today, the difference in where that vertical center of gravity is, up, high or low in the head, just isn't that much. It's not really much more than about 1/4 of an inch among all the different iron designs that are out there. And to a really good player who is very, very, skilled in repeating the delivery of the club to the ball, yep, he'll notice it. To the less skilled player who may tend to be over the top, more downward with the angle of attack, thus de-lofting the head more, yeah, you still give them the lower center of gravity head to help, but don't expect it to be doing a whole lot to really help them get the ball more airborne. But at any rate, the wider the sole, that's one of the ways that you lower the center of gravity in the head. The other way you do it is with the height of the head. The less tall or the more shallow the head's height, the more mass you have down below so that the center of gravity can be lower in relation to the center of gravity of the golf ball. So there we have another iron design characteristic. So we've had game improvement characteristic from the depth of the cavity and the MOI, how high the MOI can be. The center of gravity position, higher or lower, dictated by the blades, the head's height, and how much mass is put on the sole or the sole width. Probably the biggest area that iron design has changed within the last 5 years, and actually it's been 10 years, is with regard to the fact that now there are a few companies who have learned how to create irons with as high of a coefficient of restitution, as much spring face characteristics as that are in drivers today. Again, the United States Golf Association has had a limit on the COR of the face of drivers since 1998, okay? Measured in COR terms, that's 0.83. Under the USGA's Special Characteristic Time, CT test, a measurement of 257 microseconds for the center of the face. Okay, for years and years, that COR limit only applied to drivers, because when it was first written up in 1998, they said the COR limit shall be 0.83 for club heads of a loft of 15 degrees or lower. Okay, in saying that, that meant the USGA believed that golf companies and designers were only going to be able to design high COR club heads for drivers. Okay, that made sense because drivers have the biggest face area. If you want to make the face flex more to get the COR up higher for higher ball speed and distance, the bigger the face, the easier it is to get that done. With fairway woods and with irons, a lot more difficult to make the face flex in enough to reach a COR at the limit in the rules. Because for one thing, as you look at all irons, they're almost somewhat triangular shaped. The toe is always taller than the heel area. So you have an asymmetrical, a non-symmetrical shaped face, and that is much more difficult to make the face flex in enough to reach the high COR limits of the rules of golf to give you more distance. But it has happened, and this is one of the things that has come about within the last 10 years, and with a few more companies have learned to do it in the last 5 years. This is one of the areas I'm, most interested in, have always been fascinated with face design. I was able to do my first high COR face iron in 2000, then for my own company, starting in 2004. So this model, for example, that I'm showing you are our model 771 CSI. This is our current high COR model. It's my 4th generation of making a high COR iron. Okay, how's that done? What does it mean, in terms of iron characteristics? And as you as a golfer looking at maybe a new set of irons, should you be considering an iron with a high COR? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, the first characteristic, what does it bring to the party? The higher the COR, the more ball speed, the more distance you're going to get. Okay, there's no question that irons have been hitting the ball further over the last 20, 25 years, but that's been done by a little trick by all the club companies to change the lofts. You go back 30 years ago, the average 5-iron in the industry was 32 degrees in loft. Today, the average 5-iron is 25 to 26 degrees in loft, okay? And all the other irons have been changed the same way. The reason for that? I'm sorry to say it's been to sell more golf clubs, because we all, the industry knows that if you hit the ball further with a club than the one you have, you're going to buy it. And so by lowering lofts repeatedly over the last 30 years, this is how, the industry has pushed more iron sales on golfers, with this. And believe me, the story of saying we needed to lower the loft to counteract the effect of the center of gravity change we made, I'm sorry, that doesn't hold water, especially when you're talking about average 5-iron lofts going from 32 to 25 degrees. There is no center of gravity change that could ever be done in an iron that could require a 7-degree reduction in the loft throughout the set. So anyway, we've all been hitting irons further if we've been buying new irons over the last 25 years because the lofts are lower. But if you need more distance today than what you're getting with your irons, okay, maybe you're getting up in years, maybe your club head speed is dropping, because it always does. Father Time is undefeated, and one of those areas is with regard to us being able to retain the same club head speed when we get older that we had when we were younger. The high COR face iron can help restore some of that distance for you. How much? Compared to normal thick face irons, the normal cavity back iron, about a club less into the green. So where you were used to hitting 7-iron into the green before, with a high COR iron, you'd be able to hit an 8-iron in there and possibly gain a little bit more distance, but control with it, because the 8-iron is slightly shorter from that. So this is one area. If you need more distance, high COR irons can help you do that. If you don't need more distance, if you already have, a high enough club head speed and you're happy with the distances you hit your current irons, you don't need to be looking at a high COR face iron. However, there is one other thing in new iron technology that goes with this specialized face design. And again, this was one we talked about as being present for a while on drivers. It's not used by everybody in the industry today on their iron designs, and that's the variable thickness face design. Again, it's easy to see here on our model 771 where a center area lined up around where the center of gravity is in the head is slightly thicker in face thickness. The areas all the way around it slightly thinner. And the idea of that is to be able to say that off-center hits, we can increase the amount of face flexing, get a little bit more ball speed, a little higher smash factor, and definitely offer more distance for the off-center hit. And a well-designed variable thickness face iron is going to give you very good off-center hit distance to where when you make a bad swing, you're still going to get the ball on the green. It's not going to drop short in the bunker or the stream hugging the front edge of the green with that. So in terms of iron design, in the end, it still comes down to the design has to be matched to the player's requirements, skills, and their preference. Okay, when we teach iron fitting to club makers, one of the things we do is we recognize that every golfer who plays a lot of golf, or serious golfers who are serious about their equipment, over the years that they've been playing, they've acquired a definite preference for a certain look when they put the club down on the ground. Okay, there are several things within designs of irons that make this up. The size of the head. There are some players who just can't stand irons that are larger than a certain size. Okay, that's one. The thickness of the top line, how wide the very top section of the iron is. There are some golfers who just can't stand a wide, thick top line and insist on a thin one. Others have no opinion about it. The amount of offset in the head. In other words, how much the leading edge is behind the forward wall of the hosel. Most companies with game improvement irons design more offset into their game improvement models with the feeling that this is an aid to game improvement. There are certain players who are fine with it, seeing a head that's more offset when they put the club on the ground. Others can't even stand to look at an iron that has offset on it. The sole design, the sole width is another one that golfers will look at from the standpoint of approving or disapproving of an iron that they may choose to play with. No matter what, there's all these shape and style features that either can dictate, what a golfer likes and dislikes when he looks at an iron. Given all those, the point is this: You cannot force a golfer with definite preferences into playing a head that doesn't look good to him when he puts the club on the ground. So when we teach iron model fitting, it goes like this. And this is real important to catch the beginning of this. Within all the models of irons that satisfy the golfer's preference for the looks of the head, choose and recommend the iron that has the highest MOI, the highest off-center shot forgiveness, and the right sole design for the type of turf that the golfer plays most of his golf on. Okay, again, so what we're saying is, we're not really saying that every single golfer should play the highest MOI iron, because we understand that some golfers just don't like the size or the shape or some of the features that go with many of the very high MOI or very forgiving irons out there. That's why we say within all of the iron models that satisfy the golfer's preference for the look of the head when he puts it on the ground, among all those that are acceptable to him, then choose the one that has the best off-center shot forgiveness and the right sole design for the type of turf that he's playing. So when it comes to iron head design, yes, over the last 5 to 10 years, in the areas of game improvement, super game improvement, there are a lot of things that have been put into new iron head designs to help increase performance for players who need that game improvement. When it comes to blade style design irons, the traditional forgings, sole designs are better today than they were 20 years ago on the old classic forgings. 25 years ago on the old classic forgings, centers of gravity were a little bit on the heel side of the face center line. Today you see them more in the middle of the face, where typically they should be, with this. But by and large, you also have, the quality of the steel, the consistency of the manufacturing is better today than it was 25 years ago. But no matter what, and I can't stress this enough, it doesn't matter a bit how good the design technology is in the club head. It's never going to perform to its full benefit for you as a golfer unless you're properly custom fit for all of the key fitting specifications that go with the irons. And what I mean by that is the lengths, the lofts, the lie angles, the shaft in terms of its flex and weight and bend profile, the length progression throughout the set so that you're comfortable over all the clubs in the iron, the set makeup so you don't end up with irons that are too hard to hit because the lofts are too low or the lengths are too long, and thus you can replace those low loft, hard to hit irons with hybrids or high loft woods. So set makeup fitting when choosing a new iron design, huge part of the whole thing. The total weight, the swing weight, and the grip style and size. Unless you get all of these key iron fitting parameters properly fit to you, your size, your strength, your athletic ability, and your swing characteristics, doesn't matter how good the iron head design is, it won't perform well for you. So again, the next time you're thinking about a new set of irons, do please think about visiting a good, experienced club fitter to help guide you through the process to get you into the best iron design and then with the best fit to match to your game. Again, thanks so much for your interest in golf club technology and club fitting technology.